All right, ladies and gents, it's here, our first newly styled 2024 Chevrolet Traverse. This one just arrived the other day. I absolutely love the styling and the look of this truck. We're going to point out some of those little highlights that I like. We're also going to take a little tour of the inside, and we're just going to talk about this specific trim, which is a front-wheel drive LT. This is also a fairly basic trim. MSRP of this vehicle, $41,670. The only option we added to the vehicle is the all-weather floor liner package, which is $275. Now, just at first glance, obviously you can see that this is definitely a new design. It's more truck-like, it's a little more squared off. It looks like a smaller version of the Tahoe Suburban. Because this is the LT trim, you do have that chrome grille, chrome crossbar with that gold Chevy bow tie in the middle. You do have all LED lighting up front. Your headlights are the lower lights, and then your upper lights are your daytime running lights, also your switchbacks for your turn signals and hazards. That goes for the back here too. Your light bar, you know, on your tailgate and on the outer portion. The outer portion is what would be your turn signals and also your brake lights. I also like the way this design element is, how they bring this black bar across with the taillights and it kind of dips down for the plate. At first, I really didn't like it, but the more I look at it, I think the more it looks pretty good. We also have a quad tip dual exhaust on the vehicle, and you have this nice access panel where if you get the optional towing package, you would remove this and that would expose that 2-inch hitch. Since this guy behind me is cutting the grass over here and the audio is going to be horrendous, we're going to step inside the Traverse, we'll look at that, and then we'll come back outside and we'll continue on the exterior. Once you sit in the driver's seat of this brand new 2024 redesigned Traverse and you see the 17.7-inch screen for your infotainment and you see your 11-inch screen for your driver information, you're gonna fall in love. It's an awesome, awesome system. It is Google based, it's Google built in. You do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto still on this because this is a gas vehicle, and I'm gonna kind of run through some of the stuff, how it works. Another thing is, on the screen, on the software, General Motors or Chevrolet has eliminated a lot of buttons that you usually would have in a car that you don't necessarily need. For example, like your headlight switch. Pretty much every car today has automatic headlights, which means you don't have to actually manipulate the knob to turn your headlights on. So you really don't need that button, because how often really do you do that? You can take that button, you can put it on the screen. Another one of those buttons would be like your window lockout. How often do we really change that? Maybe if you have kids, you turn it on or off. Maybe it's just off all the time or on all the time. Again, a button, it doesn't have to be here. You can put it on the screen with the software. And then what you do is you just press your controls button here and you'll see dome light, power window lockout, your camera button, traction control. Traction control is another one. I have a traction control button in my Chevrolet Bolt. I never turn it off, I never turn it on, it's just always on. So again, you can eliminate that button and you can add it to the software, put it on the screen. And by doing that, you kind of have a little bit of a cleaner presence. However, you still have a lot of the buttons that you would want, right? You have power windows, power locks, you have your power mirrors, you have your lock and unlock. On this panel here, you have your park brake, you have your mode selection, whether you want to be in normal sport or snow and ice in this particular trim. You have your automatic engine start stop deactivate button, and then you have your panel dimmer switch here. So these are buttons you might use a little bit more frequently, so you want a hard key. It's a lot easier to do while you're driving, and you don't have to look for it or go to your control panel to do that. But for something, let's say like heated seats, where normally we would have a button on a panel here, you just have it on the bottom part of your screen. So you have heated driver and heated passenger seat. Look at the reflection. I just realized all that reflection is actually coming from the transparent plastic on here. So I'm gonna peel this back a little bit. We'll make sure we put it back on, but this way, for the sake of the video, it makes it a little easier and clearer to see the controls and buttons. Now in this vehicle, you still have your climate knobs here where you could adjust your driver and passenger settings. You have your fan speed, front and rear defrost, your automatic control. You also have your lower portion of your screen that has your climate settings, and then you have a climate button where you can make climate the whole screen. So you have a couple different sets of redundant controls in order to control your front and rear climate control. On this screen, you have your home button up top here. You also have like what it's called like a safety tray, right? So you have some of your controls up top here. So when you're driving, if you want to manipulate something on the screen, it's easier to just go right to that screen. So for instance, let's take our camera icon here. We're going to click, we're going to drag it, and we're going to put that up top too. This way, when we're driving and we're going to a parking spot, we're going to the garage, if we want our camera button, we can hit one button, we can bring that camera right up. You know, you can do up to, let's see, there's 7 there right now. Let's add the Play Store. For Google, that's 8. Let's add vehicle status. All right, so you can fit 8 total, 7 I would imagine, because the home screen probably can't be changed. It just gives you a great level of customability to put your priorities where they're easiest to access, essentially. You can also do that on the bottom here. Like for instance, if you want to move your audio button over to here, you can manipulate and change where all these icons are, put your most used ones right in front of you, and then on page 2, you can have the stuff maybe that you don't use as often. Another thing I'd like to point out real quick is just, again, the horizontal layout versus the vertical layout that you see in a lot of vehicles. You know, this is easier on the eyes. It gives you a much better level of visibility. The dashboard is very low behind that screen. So like I'm sitting here, I can see the hood of the vehicle. I got a great view out the window, and my screen is always right here, angled to the driver, you know, and visible to help out. So if I need a nav, and I go to Google Maps, you know, it's right here, it's full screen, it looks great. And I will tell you, the software in this is very fast. I mean, the fact that you can zoom in and zoom out and manipulate this map, it's a very responsive system with all the controls on it, which I've noticed in the Blazer EV, and a bunch of our new vehicles. I'm really digging the new layout, the new software. I think you are gonna really love it as well. It also has a nice big spot here where you can kind of rest your hand to support it when you're controlling or using different buttons or knobs while you're driving. You know, sometimes you hit a little bump here and there and your hand's gonna move around, whereas if you have a place to kind of firmly plant some of your fingers, and then you could, you know, easily manipulate controls, do what you gotta do while you're driving down the road. I plan on making a future video really diving in deeply to this unit and this screen and show you how things work. For now, we're gonna put our plastic protector back on here and move on with other parts of the vehicle. Next, we'll take a look at some of the driver controls. You do have some hard buttons on the steering wheel, of course. Our shift knob is now it's a column shift, but it's electronic, right? So you just pull in, go up for reverse, pull in for neutral, pull in, go down for drive, and then the little button on the end here, you press P for park. Opposite side, you have a very similar looking stalk. This obviously is turn signals, it's high beams, it's your front wipers you control with the little wheel here, it's your rear wiper in the back, and then at the very end here is your wash. Now I want to point this out because this happened the other day when I was in another vehicle. If you'll notice, there's 2 symbols here. If you press once or lightly, it just sweeps once. If you press and hold, that's how you get the wash. So it's actually a 2-function button. The other day, we didn't think there was washer fluid in the car because the customer was just pressing it and it wasn't using the washer fluid. Got to press and hold. On the wheel here, you'll see you have a minus on the left, you have a plus on the right. That's going to be for a Tiptronic, or like a, you know, paddles that you can use to control your gears. This is an 8-speed transmission in this vehicle, and we'll touch on the engine as well. It's a 2.5 liter turbo, and it's the only engine option offered. We'll touch on that before the end of the video. You'll also notice there's a couple other buttons here for you know, volume control, and on the opposite side you have toggles where you can go through like your preset stations, or you can skip a track on Pandora, stuff like that. Left side of the steering wheel here, you have some cruise control buttons. You have your gap adjust for your forward collision alert and emergency braking, and you have a new button on here, L. And what I just found out that does, if I'm in drive and I press L, it puts you into that mode where you can use your paddles. So now you'll see L1, if I use my paddle, I can go L2, L3, L4, L5, L6, L7, right up to L8. Now this actually probably, which I have to double check, still has, I think, what's called range select. And now is a system where you basically select the range you want the transmission to operate in. So let's say you're in a very hilly terrain, speed limits are like 40 miles an hour, you want to have a higher RPM range to be able to navigate and go up and down those hills and that sort of thing. You can put it in, let's say, 4th gear or 5th gear, and the transmission will only operate in those 4 or 5 gears. It won't take you to 6, 7, and 8. I'm pretty sure this most likely has that. I should double check it before I put it in the video, but I'm putting it in the video. On the right side of the wheel, you have your Bluetooth controls, you have a heated steering wheel button here, and you have this button here, which is gonna cycle through your different screens that you can see on your 11-inch display here. So here you see you have a speedometer, tachometer, your fuel gauges. Right now, audio says unavailable because I don't have anything on, but it would have like your channel art, you know, song titles, things like that. We have a screen where you can bring up Google Maps. So rather than have it on the center screen, you can have it right here in front of you. You have one that has your gap adjust for your safety features, your lane departure warning, and then you go back to this original screen, which is like a more simplistic, just your speedometer and some basic info. Again, a great level of customability depending on what you want to see while you're driving down the road. We touched slightly on the center stack. You have your climate control settings here. You have your vents, wireless charging pad, couple of USBs, cup holders, storage compartment here, and then your storage in the center. You know, real nice setup, very clean. It's got the nice piano black that collects all the dust and gets swirled and scratched as soon as you touch it with anything, but that's pretty much every car but piano black. This particular vehicle has the cloth interior, which I'm sitting in. I've been sitting in while I'm filming this video. It's a comfortable seat. The materials are pretty durable. It's got a nice little pattern to it. You know, it seems like it'd be very easy to maintain and keep clean because it doesn't really feel like cloth. It's not like cloth like the old days. It's just a real nice, nice material. This one being the LT, you're gonna get bucket seats in the second row standard. You can opt to add the bench seat, and you could also opt to add the Evotex, which would cost you $1,000. That's our new synthetic material that feels and seems just like leather interior. Just like the previous Traverse, when you're in the second row seats, these do recline, you know, which adds a little more comfort. They do go forward and back, so you can have more leg room wherever you need it, whether it be the second row or the third row. And they have that smart slide feature where if you have a front-facing car seat in the seat, you can slide that seat forward just like this. The new thing for 2024 is you can now do that on the driver's side of the vehicle as well. That's gonna give you great access to the third row. And then the one thing in the third row that everyone was looking for and is now a thing, center headrest for the center passenger. So you have them obviously both sides. Now you have the center one. That's something that was looked for a number of years. Of course, both of these seats do fold flat as well. You do have a power button here. This does have a power tailgate in the back. And then of course you have a great amount of space behind the third row. And then you could also fold down the third row just like this. When you do that, you have a great amount of cargo space for any, you know, real cargo that you would need to put in here. You'd be amazed how much fits in here. You know, you have college kids going to school, you got to load up, you got to get them to the dorms. Like, you can fit bins in here and all sorts of stuff. You'll absolutely love it. You even still have, like the old Traverse, a little hidden storage underneath, and then your spare tire is actually located under this bin. Before these little screws come out, you can take this whole thing right out, hose it out, clean it, and access your spare tire. Real quick, in the back seat here, you have a couple of nice cup holders here on the back of the center console. You have climate controls, you have USB chargers, and an actual, like a household style outlet. You have map pockets or pockets for whatever you need on the back of the seats. And then this here is a great spot to pop your cell phone. Getting back to the outside here where we kind of left off earlier, I really like this design element. I don't really know why I like it. I just like it. I think it looks good the way they brought the window up to connect it to the other windows. You have a small bit of chrome trim along the top there, which actually could be blacked out if you get the Midnight Edition, which would give you 20-inch black wheels as well. You know, it would also black out your front grille and all that sort of stuff and give you that dark stealth look that a lot of people like these days. You could also add the sunroof to the LT trim, and you can add the enhanced driving package, which would upgrade you to Bose stereo, but it would give you Super Cruise, which is what I think a lot of people are looking forward to. That's where the cruise control will actually help you steer down certain roads, things like that. If I start getting them in with that and I could drive the car, meaning it's not sold already, I definitely will put a video together showing you how Super Cruise works. Okay, let's talk about the engine, because that's one of the things that comes up. Before we even mention what engine this is, just know that I've been doing this for almost 20 years. And I went through a period of time where customers would come in and they would say, no, 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 I don't want a V6, I want a V8. I have to have a V8. Then years later, those same customers would come in and say, no, 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 I don't want a 4-cylinder, I want a V6. It's gotta be a V6. And now I'm gonna start hearing, I don't want a 4-cylinder, I want a V6. Let's talk about the engine. 2.5 liter turbo. This is a 4-cylinder, and I'm already starting to hear it. People are saying, nope, 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 I don't want a 4, I want the V6. But this is better technology. It's a 4-cylinder turbo. It has 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque. It's linked up to that 8-speed automatic transmission that I mentioned earlier. And here's how it stacks up against the competition. You know, we are in a great spot. When you look at all the competitors with their base engines, we have the most powerful engine. Now, this is an all-new engine, and I know that can make people a little skeptical, a little apprehensive. However, let's use the 2.7 liter turbo that's in the Silverado as the example. That 2.7 liter turbo in the Silverado has been a great engine for us. It'll tow up to 9,000 pounds. It's got good performance. It's got, as we see it so far, very good reliability. Personally, I was able to drive one of those trucks up to near Boston to pick up my parents' Traverse that we located for them. And on that 4-hour drive, I was very impressed with that engine. I was impressed in that It's very quiet at highway speeds, and it takes very little pedal travel for that turbo to kind of spool up and for you to hit that peak torque. So you're not revving it out real high once you're at speed. Now around town, it can be a little noisier when you're accelerating from green lights, when you're moving around slower city streets, things like that. But on the highway, that engine was fantastic. It was a very good experience, and I think this engine is going to do very well for us. And it'll take time to tell that, but I'm confident in it. And I'm confident in it because of the way vehicles are produced now, the computer technologies that we have, the ability to, make gaskets better. Like, do you remember the old days? Like, you would go to the supermarket and every single parking spot would have an oil stain in it because every car leaked oil. Every car had problems. Every engine out there was really, when you compare it to today, was a piece of junk. Think about it. Like, I had a 93 Mercury Cougar. That car had steel block aluminum heads. The head gaskets would go every year. It was a known problem. I had a Galaxy 500, which was a Ford. It was from 1973. It had what was called the two-piece rope seal on the back of the engine. That literally leaked no matter what you did. I took the whole engine apart myself to fix it. Sure enough, not long later, that seal doesn't sit right. It didn't fit that gap. That thing would leak oil. Cars just don't do that today. Like, you look at our parking lot, like, there's no oil stains on the parking lot. And that being said, I know this is gonna be a fantastic vehicle for us. We have about 25 of them being built. We have half of them already sold, pre-sold, pre-ordered, bunch of RSs, bunch of Z71s. As I get these vehicles in, I'll continue to make content, with them. So if you have any questions about the Traverse, why don't you drop those down in the comments? I'll try to answer them all as I get myself, acclimated with this brand new Chevrolet model.